Why do do-overs work? Well, if we're smart, we actually live two lives. Know the difference, learn the difference, and learn from the difference, and you will have a successful do-over.
I don't know what to say, really.
Making mistakes is normal, but learning from them, not normal. And being really sincere and trying hard doesn't help.
Now, I can't do it for you. I'm too old. I look around, I see these young faces, and I think, I made every wrong choice a middle-aged man can make.
So let's find out what it takes to make a do-over successful. Hey, and stick around to the end for an approach that is one of the best ways to make sure your do-over actually has a chance of success. Hello, my name's James Callahan, and this is the Do-Over Show, where we learn what it takes to make do-overs work in money, in business, hey, in life.
We're in hell right now, gentlemen. Believe me. And we can stay here, get the shit kicked out of us, or we can fight our way back.
I ran across this blog recently that said, if you're a doctor, your patient might die. Might die? Well, if the mission of a doctor is to prevent death, then doctors have a 100% failure rate. But that's not the mission of a doctor. The mission of a doctor is to, delay the inevitable, that chase towards death, to alleviate pain, to improve quality of life. Hey, and when a doctor doesn't prevent death, we don't call them failures.
Dormammu, I've come to bargain. I've come to bargain. I've come to bargain. I've come to bargain. I've come to bargain.
You cannot do this forever.
Actually, I can.
So what saves us from this wild idea of failure is really adjusting our mission and our expectations. And that's critical to a successful do-over. So let's tackle one of the most basic reasons why do-overs are not only possible, but why they work. And it's this: we're human.
Just as you gave Caecilius powers from your dimension, I brought a little power from mine. This is time. Endless, looped time.
See, for most people, being human is a problem we're trying to avoid or get over. It's an excuse, it's something, it's everything that gets in the way. But being human means we can make mistakes, learn from them, and be successful the next time around. Being human is the key to a successful do-over. It's not the problem to be eliminated.
You will never win.
No, but I could lose again and again and again and again forever.
Being human is what we've got going for us. It's not our problem. It's the reason why we can succeed in the first place. It's our strength. You see, it's unrealistic in life to think that our only goal is to succeed. It's also wrong to think that our only goal in life is to fail. The goal is to figure out the difference, and when you fail, how to turn that next time into a success. Here's an example. Very few of us succeed the very first time we try something. And if we do succeed, it wires our brains in a funny, wonky way. Imagine this. You go to buy your very first lottery ticket and you win. Do you know what that does to your wiring in your brain? It means that you create this false expectation that you're supposed to win all the time. And when you don't, you feel like you're being cheated, like the world is turned against you. Like somehow that's not the outcome that you should expect. I remember one of my very first investments in the market. I bought a penny stock of a little company for no reason, but it was cheap and I liked the ticker. That's the way most people pick stocks, believe me. But anyway, a couple days after I put a couple $100 into it, it received a buyout offer from a bigger company. And I doubled my money within just days. Now, it's not life-changing. It was $600 to $1,200. But it wired my brain to think that that's what's supposed to happen when I put a little money into a penny stock. That created a wrong sense, a track record that took me years to overcome of chasing penny stocks, news headlines, buyout rumors, thinking I'm just going to quickly double my money and move on. It took years of unwiring. Instead of learning the first time, that time and investments are my best friend. Unlearning stupid success is much more difficult for us than it is for our brains to, because of the plasticity, to be reworked and learn from our failures and turn them into a successful do-over. Here's why that is. We have a new cult of failures within our world. It's on social media, YouTube, it's everywhere, and that is we tend to glorify and we get a little bit gory ourselves looking at the crash and burn stories of so many. Put it this way, how many of us are attracted to those outlandish success stories? Now, we're suspicious of those. But when somebody crashes and burns and is willing to share that with us, we have a morbid curiosity, like a gaper's block. And yes, I know you do it too. You're on the highway, you're driving by, there's an ambulance, maybe a fire truck, and there's a crash and wreckage, and you see bandages, and maybe a little blood, and you slow down and you stare at that. Why? Well, just because you're kind of messed up. We all are in that respect. We love the crash and burn stories. But when we start to obsess about those crash and burn stories, we also begin to obsess about things that keep us trapped in our own failures. What happens is we practice a thing called self-selecting. We decide that things are too difficult, too hard. Look, if I try, I'm going to wind up in a crash and burn scenario like that. And we self-select ourselves out of applying for jobs, taking even small risks. Knowing that we have time on our side, we still waste and spend our time rather than using our time better. That is, we even tend to avoid do-overs because we say, well, I tried it and I failed. Well, trying it and failing it means you should be better prepared the second time around, doesn't it? An obsession with failure like that gives us a wrong sense of consolation. It gives us our excuses. It reinforces the idea that if we don't try it, we won't be hurt. Okay, so here are the basics of how it works. Did you know that most entrepreneurs and startups, people that first time they try things for the first time, that most of them fail within a relatively short period of time? Wait, you did know that? You're so smart. That's fantastic. Well, here are the numbers. 20% of all new businesses and startups fail within the first year. 30% fail within their second year. 50% fail before their fifth year. And yes, wow, 70% of startups and new businesses fail before they reach their 10th year. But here's the painful part. Over 70% of these startup failures, 70% never try a second time. And for those that do try a second time, but don't change anything in their approach from the first time, 80% of them fail.
Mr. Dorfman.
Hello.
0.2. Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
That's like saying we're going to put everything into just one shot, one opportunity, shout out Eminem, and we're going to grab everything we've ever wanted because that's the only chance we're going to get, and that's the lie. And then we say, if it doesn't work, that proves that it just wasn't a good idea, or I'm not the right person, or things just aren't moving in my favor. If we do it that way, we have to be perfect in order to have even a chance of success. That is, it's like we're stacking the odds against us to make sure, to almost guarantee that we're not going to succeed. But here's the thing about those numbers, that those that do try a second or third or fourth time, when they do and they make the adjustments necessary, the more they try, the more they succeed. Up to 80% of those who make adjustments and try a second, third, or fourth time find success. So here are some other little things that we can do, ideas that come from the world of business and do-overs that can get us on the right track and get us into some practices that will guarantee we have better opportunities ahead of us. The first is obviously just to call a do-over. Take ownership of it. Make sure that you're the one who gets to say, I am starting over. And that gives you a chance to get rid of the mess. You see, if we obsess about the mess and we keep it around us and we try to this great deal of introspection and confession and we just look at it over and over again, we're going to start to reflect that kind of image, not through some mumbo jumbo religious stuff, but we're going to have a narrow vision, a tunnel vision of what it is that's possible. We need to get rid of the mess that we created the first time we tried something. When we do that and we take ownership of it, that's when we have a chance to move forward. The next thing we got to admit is it's not enough just to have a great idea, a product, or a new way of doing things. Yeah, and that's really about the marketing. I know we don't think about ourselves and our own marketing, especially in our own life, but that's really at the heart of it, our personal brand, what we think and what other people think we can accomplish. Marketing is at the heart of so much of what we do, especially when we're talking about presenting our brand in our do-over, to ourselves, in the mirror, in the morning, or to an audience, to customers, to funders, to our coworkers, when we're trying to make something happen after a failure and we're calling our do-over. One of the other things that helps in do-overs is to share it with our close friends or family. Not everybody, don't announce it from the rooftops. Pick people, select them, and look at them and say, hey, I'm going to try something. I tried it once, didn't work, I'm going to try it again. I wanted to let you know that because it builds accountability, it builds some self-assessment, and it also keeps us away from just giving up easily. It makes us stick with ideas longer when we know there are others who are watching. Is it artificial pressure? Yes, who cares? Not all pressure is bad pressure. And that kind of accountability, even if it's just a small circle of people, just sharing an idea that say, I'm going to try something. And I'll probably revisit it with you in a couple weeks. I'm going to let you know how I'm doing. And it also gives you a chance to check out who really is interested in your life. And here's another important idea, and that is to get out of our own heads. And that means that we have to start looking at everything as though every failure is something that we have to carry with us like a cross, that we have to constantly confess over and find forgiveness for. You don't. Part of a do-over is not only getting rid of the mess, but it's also learning to not obsess with ourselves and with what we lack. Getting over ourselves will be one of the most important features in finding success.
You know, when you get old in life, things get taken from you. I mean, that's part of life. But you only learn that when you start losing stuff.
Here's another idea that will help us in our do-overs, and that is to get out of our own way, get out of our own head, and start to help someone else. Do you know someone who lost a job and needs a job? Do you know someone who's underemployed, would love to have a better job, a different job, make more money? Well, help them. You know somebody that's in the midst of a do-over? Well, get out of your own way and start to help somebody else. Learn by serving, not just by expecting the world and everything to serve you. Get over your entitlement and start to actually be a value add to other people. And by the way, when you do that, you'll also learn, hey, I can do that too. That will help boost your confidence. It will help the people in your life. You'll actually be someone that people like to have involved in their life, even as they're experiencing failures and do-overs. And another essential point of this, not only with ourselves, but with others, is to forgive. Get over grudges, let them go before you're even asked. Don't manipulate other people into say they did me wrong, I'm always going to do them wrong, or take revenge as a way of life. Instead, let it go. And one of the quickest ways is to get over attribution fallacy. That is, when we fail, we have to own our mistakes. Attribution fallacy is when we look at everyone else and we blame everyone and everything else in our life rather than looking at ourselves and saying, I'm going to own that, I'm going to move beyond that, I'm going to do it differently this time. And if we can't let go of obsessing about our failures, then our failures will become our futures. I'm going to write that one down. Our failures will become our futures. And there's nothing that ruins a good do-over faster than not letting go, not forgiving, not waiting to be asked to forgive, just forgiving without being prompted. There's nothing that gets in the way than hanging on to all that baggage when you're trying to do something better with your life. Oh, and this brings me to the promised game changer I mentioned at the start of the video. The thing that will help us find success in our do-overs, and that is learn to do more of what's working and do less of what's not working. I know. Stop measuring every failure and start obsessing about the things that are working. Most of us that struggle with do-overs, we obsess about failures and we repeat our failures like a cycle that we can never escape, rather than not just letting them go and forgiving and moving on, but we learn to obsess about them like it's something that we have to constantly confess and admit, like you have to stand up and say, I've tried this 6 times and failed 6 times. You know that famous quote about Thomas Alva Edison and how many mistakes he had in creating a light bulb. I didn't make thousands of mistakes. I just found 1,000 ways not to make a light bulb. Well, take your own version of that, but get out of the cycle of failure by obsessing about it, thinking that you constantly have to confess, I failed, I failed, I failed. Instead, learn to focus on doing the things that are working and do a ton more of that. When I do a marketing campaign, when I look at things and attempts in my life, or it's in investing and things don't work out, when I obsess about those things, I'm going to learn by concentrating on my failures. I often miss repeating successes. I often miss learning from things that are working, things that fit, things that work to my advantage, that take advantage of my strengths as well as my passion. It's learning to focus on what works a lot more than studying what failure is that will get us out of our own way and make a successful do-over possible. And thanks for being part of the Do-Over Show. Please, could you tap the like button? And while you're down there, how about you subscribe and ring the notification bell so you don't miss the next episode? I'm so glad you found me, and I found you. Thanks.
Now, what are you gonna do?